Thank you everyone to be here today to listen a few of the stuff I have to say. So it's gonna be like a raw presentation and a raw demonstration because I'm like a freelancer, I have no time to do stuff, so I just put blank slide and text on it. So the idea of this presentation is just to give you a demonstration of a few experiments I've done with DuckDB. So the people that have been using DuckDB might be like, maybe saying like, oh, I already know it, but for the newcomers, it's gonna be like a good idea and a good overview about a few things that I find magical about DuckDB. Just to like put a small spoiler and to give you like a taste, I'm gonna talk about dbt and DuckDB and about WebAssembly and how with WebAssembly you can do stuff that to me is like the future of data. So first, I will just introduce myself. So my name is Christophe Blefari. I'm French. You might notice from my accent. I'm a staff data engineer, but mainly what I do is like building stuff with data. Like I do software engineering, and I build systems that use data for people that want to use data. And I'm a freelancer. I mainly freelance with clients in France, even if I live in Berlin since last year. But the reason is because just I have clients there, but if people want to work with me, you can chat with me everywhere. On the client I already work with, you might know some, like I work with BlaBlaCar, which is like a carpooling company. I also work with Conto, which is a bank for B2B, but bank for companies. And for the last year, I've been working with the French Education Ministry, where I try to rework the way they manage datasets. At the moment, the datasets are managed with CSV on every disk in the ministry. And the idea is like to put an on-premise blob storage with Parquet everywhere. And DuckDB can enter in this space because we want people like to be able to read Parquet everywhere, from everywhere, so it can be like a good solution for us. I also do content creation. I have a weekly newsletter, and I do also blog posting on my own blog, blef.fr. You can subscribe to the newsletter or just read stuff there. And yeah, personally, I like running, biking, and I also play video games. So if you want to play Valorant, also ping me. So the agenda of this presentation will be first like a small recap of what's DuckDB and why you should or you could use DuckDB. Then I will just explain what's DuckDB WASM, and then I will do the demonstration of the stuff I have to show. So in 3 points, what's DuckDB? It's like an OLAP in-memory database. It means that it runs on a single node. To install DuckDB, you only need 25 megabytes, and it doesn't any external dependencies. This is like the what, but also the why. Actually, the fact that it has no external dependencies, like it's a good advantage. You might, understand why. And the idea of DuckDB is like you write SQL to interact with DuckDB. So in DuckDB, you load data and you just write SQL, and you can do it locally, like in the browser. You can do it everywhere. You can do it everywhere. Just small like SQL queries that have been written in the documentation. So for instance, in the first line, you read a CSV from the SQL in DuckDB. So yeah, it's a way to do a select star on a file. You can, for instance, create like a table from this read CSV automatically. And then you have a table that is like created in your in-memory database that you have loaded. And then you can query it if you want. That's just like the tip of the iceberg, but that's the magic of it. So for instance, if you want to use DuckDB in a modern data stack, as we all say, this is like a diagram from a project called Fancy Data Stack that I've been worked on. The idea was like to use the most fancy tool to create a data stack. So if I just put DuckDB like in situation, in this case, DuckDB could be used, DuckDB/Mozoduct actually, could be used as the warehouse at the center of the stack. I mean, more Mozoduct than DuckDB at the center because If you want to have a warehouse, DuckDB is not really the tool right now to do it because it has locks. It's like concurrency is not as good as it could be like on the cloud warehouses we know. So if you want to apply warehouse concept, it's more like Mozilla that could do it. If you want to be more in data lake fashion, DuckDB could do it. So yeah, that's where you put it. I have a circle if you don't see it. So why you could use or should use DuckDB to save cost? I think like this is one of the main arguments. So this is a LinkedIn post from someone that is working at Okta in the security team. And mainly what he says is like they had like a big data warehouse pipeline. They did stuff with DuckDB and they saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, that's like the point. if you want to save like if you want to save reading this. So that's one reason to use DuckDB, but there are more. The first one might be like to embark SQL capabilities everywhere. So locally, remotely, like on the server, you just do like pip install DuckDB and you can run SQL on the server. Or on the phone, I guess like you can embed like DuckDB in the phone as well, like in the browser or natively. You can read data files that are Parquet CSV JSON, might be more, I guess, in the future. There are like no external dependencies. I say wave to pandas because when you install pandas, sometimes you still wait until pandas dependencies resolves. So yeah, that's a good point. The benchmarks looks great. Actually, I don't care about benchmarks because at the moment, all the tools are like quite the same for the use case I do. Like I do analytics like for reporting for companies. So yeah, I don't care if like the dashboard, or not the dashboard, but the queries run in like 10 minutes instead of 15 minutes. So yeah, benchmarks was great. If you have heavy workloads, you have to look deeper in it. And DuckDB is already used in in a few data products, either like with WASM or either like with DLT, for instance, or like in the core of the products, like just to move data. Yeah. Why do I put an Apple slide on my presentation? Not because I'm tech cook, but just to have like a realization, which is like right now, I guess we all work in startups or like we are in buildings. So yeah, we have all mapped. And our max specification are like huge. When I say huge, it's like the new M3 are like 8 core CPUs and at least 24 gigabytes of memory. When I remember like the talks I have like with sysadmins at some companies, they like start servers at 2 gigabytes of memory. So in a lot of use cases, like my computer is like more powerful than the server that I have. So why not do stuff locally? Why not do stuff in the browser that I use every day to like use data? And if we just compare it with Snowflake, so the warehouse size of the Snowflake, this is like not me saying this, but SelectDev, which is like a company that tries to save your Snowflake cost. They approximate the fact that XML on XML warehouse in Snowflake is like 8 core and 16 gigabytes. If I compare it to my MacBook is like 64 gigabytes of RAM and 26 CPU, something like this. So yeah, why should I run stuff on Snowflake when I can run it on my computer? Yeah, I take a lot of shortcuts, but you get the point.
What is a Snowflake little thing? We agree. Okay, we call it.
Now I will just jump to DuckDB WASM. It's like a tweet I did like 2 weeks ago when I was trying stuff with DuckDB WASM, and this is the first time in like a few years that I had this magic stuff that happened to me. Like, this is like the sentence in the middle. I said that I'm able to read a public 500 megaoctet Parquet file, do a group by in less than 1 second. And to me, like at the first glimpse, it was like just magical, like to be able to read a huge, not huge, but 100 of megabytes files and to do like a group by on it. When I say in less in 1 second, it was more like in milliseconds, to be honest. And when you deep dive, you understand why it's working. But when you just do like the first SQL query, you're like, okay, it's magic. I will maybe explain a bit why it works like this. So just for people who don't know, WASM means WebAssembly, and WASM is designed as a portable compilation target for programming languages. So the idea with WASM is like to compile your C program, your binaries, and put it in a browser and run stuff in the browser, like Doom. So if you want, you can play Doom in the browser or do other stuff, actually. In this presentation, I've not finished stuff, but I tried as well, like to put DBT, SQL and stuff in the browser to have like a complete data stack in the browser. It's for another time, I guess. So what it means is with DuckDB, it means you can run SQL code in the browser without any server. And without any server is like, yeah, for a lot of use cases, you don't want a server. You just want like a browser, do stuff in the browser. You can send like an HTML file, JavaScript files to people, and they do stuff like locally, and you are happy. So let's jump to a few ideas now that I've introduced my stuff. So I have like 3 stuff that I can demo today. The first one is like being able to run DuckDB locally or in the CI. I will do it only locally because I don't have a CI setup, but or in the CI to replace your data warehouse. I mean, in production, you have your data warehouse, like Snowflake, BigQuery, other one, like Azure Synapse, if people are using Azure Synapse, which I don't. So you have like a production data warehouse, but you want to test like your SQL queries of your SQL data warehouse. And one solution, for instance, with BigQuery is like to create a CI project, run the BigQuery queries in the CI. And if you already done it, when you have 100 of SQL queries, it will take time. And when I say time, it will take a lot of time because like you have a cold start between each like SQL run when you do it, like even if dry run with BigQuery, and it will take minutes and slowing down your CI. So if you're able to translate on the fly your BigQuery SQL queries to the DuckDB and run it within DuckDB, you win because you don't spend a lot of time like doing HTTP call. You just like call you in memory. I will show you also as well like a web extension I developed just to get the Parquet schema of your data file, your data lake file in the browser. For instance, when you use S3 or GCS, it's like very frustrating when you navigate like in your S3 browser. You have Parquet, but like it's awful to open Parquet. You have to download it, like open a Jupyter notebook, pandas, read Parquet, and then you are able to see what's in the file. I developed like a small extension to do it. It's just like a POC rather than something you should use in production. And the last one is adding SQL capacities in React app, in any React app. So yeah, I will just switch to my pie chart. So I will maybe enter in presentation mode. Okay. How do I open the left stuff? I don't remember. Project. Okay. So I have not React for the moment. No. Okay. So I have a DBT project. I don't know if you are familiar with DBT, but I will not do an introduction about DBT. I'm sorry. But I have a small DBT project in which I have one source, which is row order. This table is already loaded in my BigQuery project. If I just show you here, I have like a BigQuery project in which I have row order, and row order is like a data set generated by ChatGPT about someone that is ordering fruits and vegetables. Yeah, it's because it started like the previous sort stuff. Yeah, it's apples, bananas. Yeah, we have bananas here. Then, where is my pie chart? Here. So I have one source. I have one model that is like querying this source. So in a BigQuery SQL with BigQuery SQL function, and I have one profile, and in my profile I have two outputs. The first one is BigQuery, and the second one is test. And test is using like a DuckDB connection, while the BigQuery is using the BigQuery connection. In the profile for DuckDB, I have this key which says emulate BigQuery. So this is to tell to the DuckDB adapter to translate on the fly, to transpile on the fly the SQL query by using BigQuery as a source and to transpile it in the DuckDB syntax. Okay, so if I just go in my terminal, I just zoom in a bit. So if I just do a dbt run, it will run on BigQuery. So you have to trust me because I've already run it, but it will run on BigQuery. So you see it here, target BigQuery. So it created the table. And if I do dbt run target test, it will run, but on DuckDB, but locally. So right now it worked, but the reason it worked was because I already had like a database with the source loaded on my computer, because if I don't have it, it will not work. So if I remove the DuckDB database that I had locally, it fails, obviously. So in order to do it, I just develop a small script that, I have a small script that loads in the DuckDB locally a fixture of the order table that is like in production, but smaller, because we are locally, so we don't put like all the stuff on the release. So I have here in CI the sources, so it's row order, and I have only like 2 orders in this. And so I run, I load the data, and I do the stuff. Yeah, it's magical. We can, I will go fast because the idea is just to move to the other presentation as well. But when I do the run here, so the script that I've run is like a CI script. So this is something that loads the row order file that is here, so with 2 orders, and compare the output of the revenue model, which is this one, to another seed here that say for the order 1 you had to have 8.6, and for the order 2 you have to have 1. Actually, there is one issue because it expects 8.6, but the real result was 8.5. So if I change my expected output to 8.5, because I put the expected output to fail. That's not the query that is wrong. That's how we do unit tests, right? And right now it's work. So the idea is like to put this in the CI. So in the close future, the DBT will introduce unit tests, but the idea is not only related to the DBT. The idea is to put this on all your pipelines. And for instance, what was presented with DLT, the idea to be able to have a platform that in production is the same as locally, that runs in memory, that is very easy to install. It's magical. So I move to the next stuff I would just want to show you, which is a web extension that gives you the schema of your Parquet file in the storage. So here I have the extension already installed in my Firefox. So I go to my cloud storage, I go to the bucket that is set up for this, and I have to activate the extension. And I guess I have to reopen the page. And so if it works, when I will it do it work. Let me see why. Okay, it works. So what I've done is you just hover the Parquet file, and then you have like the schema of the Parquet file directly in your border. It avoids you like a lot of configuration and stuff. So this is just like a POC once again. So the idea is like to show you that this is powered by DuckDB, but actually it's more like Arrow interface that does it. But DuckDB is a nice way to be able in the browser to query like a Parquet file. And querying like the schema is one thing you can do, but actually what you can imagine is like my extension, which is this one, which is empty. You cannot see it because I put nothing in the panel, but you can, for instance, here put a text area and be able like to run SQL directly in the browser page on your Parquet file or on your CSV file that are in the data lake. Like, yeah, good idea. The code is not yet pushed anywhere on internet for this extension, but I will try to put it after the meetup, or even like write a blog post about it. If I just show you quickly the code which is behind, so my extension is called Parquet Info. If you don't know how extension work, the extension work in two parts. There is like a part that is on the background, which is background here. So you define script that runs in the background, and you have stuff that is like the content script, and the content script is something that is, I will say, append to your main HTML page. And so in order to run some stuff, you have to put it in the background and do some kind of messaging communication between the background and the foreground to make it work. So my DuckDB stuff is in the background. So here, this is the way you instantiate, this is the way you instantiate a DuckDB asynchronous database in vanilla JavaScript, and in JavaScript actually. I say in vanilla because in React is a bit different because the import are a bit different. But you have to get like the bundles that are outside on the internet. Then you create a database. Oh, there are like some credentials that I will change after the presentation. Because yeah, to just query like my GCS, I have to put the access key and the secret key somewhere. And then what I do mainly is like just run a SQL query, and the SQL query that I run is not on this side, but on the content script side here. The SQL query that I run is not here. Okay, I don't remember what the SQL is. It's here. Yeah, I was like blind. So what I do is like just query Parquet metadata. I put my file here. A lot of stuff is hard-coded because it's a demo. And then I get like the path, so it's the column name and the type. Yeah, the type actually is like, you might have seen that type for string is byte array, which is like, might be wrong. It would be better. It would be like a string or object, but yeah, it still works. And the last small stuff I just want to show is like how you can create and integrate like WASM within your React app. So for instance, here I just have like a small create React app that is connected to a DuckDB that is like in my browser. So what I can do is like run a SQL query. I will maybe zoom in a bit. So here I just like do select one as Toto, and then I have like a table. What I can do is if I redo like the demonstration I was speaking about in my tweet. So I go on datagroup.fr, which is like the open data portal in France. Here on the side, we can see among the 50,000 data sets that we have 6 files in Parquet. Yeah, things are moving fast. So I used this one, which like is like all the office where you can vote for the stuff where we vote in France when we vote. And I can, for instance, do like select. So I will first select star Parquet metadata from my file, which is this one. I run this. Oh.
It's a live demo.
Okay. Yeah. If I just do read Parquet, is it working? Yeah, it's real.
Yeah, might say just if you don't have the extension specified.
So no, actually, it's working without the extension as well. I think the select star was not a good idea to do, but I don't remember the name of the column I want to select. So I think it's something like this: current commune ref. Is it working? Okay, so yeah, so it's WebAssembly. So sometimes you get some weird stuff. Okay. Yeah. One last try. One last try. I could commune ref from read parquet. This. Yeah, I have to put a limit because I guess he will fail.
Yeah, I think you're getting a lot of memory there.
Yeah, actually it was working fine. It's like the demo effect, I would say. So I will just, try something else. So this one is not working, but I have another stuff I can show you and then I will quickly wrap up. So on my React app, just let me uncomment something. For instance, I can load default table. So I see one use case for like the SQL interpreter in the browser, which is for educational purpose. Like learning SQL is like for every data people, something that is like very important and required. And the idea is like to bring more and more people like to be able to write SQL. The issue with SQL is that if you want to run SQL on your local computer at the moment, you have to have Docker and Postgres and stuff like this. This is awful. I guess with this in the browser, you can provide like a good experience to everyone that want to learn SQL, either like to learn the specific DuckDB syntax. But I think if you put, for instance, like SQL Glot in the browser, you can translate the DuckDB to Postgres, to BigQuery, to any engine out there, and create courses for every stuff. So if my demo is working now, I should be able to see some tables. Yeah, so I have two tables that are like loaded. These two tables are like just two files that I've loaded in like a public bucket here that I've just registered before. So here I can do select star from area, for instance. And then, the data is just the European countries and the land area and the population, and the idea is to do a join and stuff like this. So for instance, you can pre-populate like your app and ask people some question and then validate the answers directly in the browser, directly without internet connection, and it's working. Yeah, that's mainly the point. So I will wrap up because I guess I'm short in time. So yeah, now I see DuckDB everywhere. So for instance, on the Open Data Portal, we can put like a SQL button here and just query directly like the file directly here. For instance, in my blog, I can put a SQL text area at the top just to query my metrics and stuff like this. It can be done in every, I guess, back office of every app that exists in any company, actually. We can put it like in education. I think we can also like in JavaScript apps. I think it's better to write SQL other than map. Map for each and stuff, and having like arrays, object and stuff to create like a SQL actually to do your group buys. So might be that there is maybe something to do to simplify the way the computation is done in JavaScript apps. In every Git website, a Git phase, stuff like this, where data is like displayed, you can put like the DuckDB WASM there to just run SQL, actually everywhere. So yeah, that's mainly it. Thank you for listening, and if you have any question, I guess I can take it.